Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look. Okay, welcome everybody tonight, and we have I guess we could call it a special report we're going to do. There's a lot of rhetoric out there on the web and a lot of articles concerning tomorrow, actually, as maybe a flashpoint, beginning of the new world order and the communist revolution that's taking place before our very eyes. And we're very fortunate to have Augusto Perez with us, who actually witnessed a communist takeover, and so we need to be listening very carefully to what he has to say. Hi, Augusto. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Stuart. Thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, no problem at all. In fact, we're very fortunate to have you because of what is really going on. Larry, are you with us?
Oh, I'm up here. I got my listening stuff on, so I'm ready for Augusto.
Sounds good. Augusto, you were how do I word this? You witnessed a communist revolution and takeover. And it appears to me that this, even major media will not call this what it is. They keep calling them progressives or the far left or whatever, but they never brand them, and that includes Fox News. Only one person that I've heard on Fox News said it was a communist revolution, and I guess if you went to the book of Revelation, you'd have to say that the communism was the foundation of this whole thing. But you lived through some of that. Could you enlighten the people as to what is coming if they are successful? Let's put it that way.
Sure. Well, the best I can put it, the best way I can put it is, communism, is basically a fairy tale. It comes from Karl Marx, which is, he wrote a book, The Communist Manifesto, and of course they tried it in Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution, and they killed a whole family and brought it in by force, and we saw what that what that was all about. They destroyed the nation. We saw it in China. We've seen it in Cuba. We've seen it in Venezuela. Everywhere this system has been brought in, it has destroyed the nation. Now, there are some other countries that have tried a milder version of it, like Ecuador and Nicaragua, but even those countries are having trouble. Look at Nicaragua. And so, but I saw the version in Cuba. In Cuba, Castro tried to bring in the actually communism. He declared himself a socialist communist, and he brought it in under the guise of, everybody's going to be equal. And what I noticed is this, and this is what I'm seeing in America, the working class, the middle class and the working class, they're not interested in that kind of junk, They just want to put food on the table for their families. They want to just be able to pay their bills on time, and they want to live clean lives. Where I see this, the people that are vulnerable for socialism and communism is on the extremes: the super rich or the rich class, and the very poor. The rich class are duped in because they think they have this intellectual, ideal. They are idealists. And they think that by bringing in socialism, communism, is going to be a utopian type of thing where, everybody's going to be happy and everybody's going to live, well. And this is all nonsense. It is baloney. These people have never had to work hard in their lives. These are the rich people. Those people have had everything handed to them on a silver platter. Now, Cuba had those people. Cuba had the rich class and the poor class. What Cuba did not have was the middle class, which America has. That has been the backbone of America. Thank God for the middle class in America. They are the ones that keep the country going. But the rich class, those are the bureaucrats. Okay, those are the deep blue states that are mostly Democrats. Those people are the very rich. Okay, those are on the West Coast and in the Northeast. And wherever you see these blue states, you're going to see people that are very, very wealthy. They have no idea what it is to make a living, to get your hands dirty and build something from the bottom up. They don't know what that's about. And these are the intellectuals, okay? And then you have the poor people, the beggars, the ones that leave of the government, the handouts. And Cuba had those, and Cuba had a lot of those. And so those people also are deceived, thinking that whenever this system is implemented, they're going to get to live well and not have to work, and they have this crazy mindset, this I guess you call it fairy tale mindset, that that people can live off, everybody can live off like in the Garden of Eden, and nobody has to work. Only if the rich people can be, if they give up their money, the working people, that want that work. And so this is the mentality that exists in these people. They don't understand that you cannot get something out of nothing, and when the money, when there's no more money, there's no more money. Where's the money going to come from? And this is what has happened in Venezuela. This is what has happened in Cuba, what happened in the Soviet Union. And Vladimir Putin knows that now. And he is kind of amazed. Why would the U.S. want to have something that it doesn't work? It didn't work here. It's never worked anywhere. So the United States I think, is split right down the middle, maybe with a little more of the conservatives, the middle class. I would say 55%, 50 to 55%, and then maybe 40 to 45% of the other people, and maybe a few that don't know where they stand. They're confused. And so this is where this country is. This country is standing on the verge of a civil war, of a revolution. And we can talk more about that if you want. And I think it's going to be it's going to be a revisiting of the days of Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Jackson and all those early patriots. I think this is one of the reasons why President Trump has a picture of him hanging on the White House.
What actually happens to the people? I mean, what do you actually go through? We've got theology, I guess you could call it, about who is in favor of it, but when this thing starts to go down, how do you see this in relationship to what actually is going to happen? What are the people themselves going to live through? What do you see coming?
Well, the first thing we're going to see, if it happens here, and we need to pray it doesn't happen, but there's a good chance it will happen. I think it's inevitable. Actually, the only question is how bad is it going to be? Is it going to be a little bad, or is it going to be real bad? But I think it's going to happen no matter what. But the first thing we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of bloodshed, a lot of killing. When Castro took over Cuba, there was a lot of killing, a lot of people killing each other. And, people that had a lot of grudges, a lot of hatred towards others, people that had been abused, say under Batista, people that had been taken advantage of, people that had been done harm to, they had it against the other people. And so they're going to come against them with a vengeance. we are seeing the same thing happening here. We are seeing people in the, Democrats, socialists, communists that have it against Trump, have it against anyone that is associated with the Trump White House. And then we have also the patriots, the conservatives, that they have suffered a lot in the hands of the Obanistas and the socialists and the communists. And these people, that they have suffered a lot, and also they have a lot of resentment in their hearts against them. So, the conservatives have done a much better job at controlling their temper and not showing their anger and their resentment and taking it out in anger against others than the left. The left has been really spilling over with hatred and vitriol. And we're seeing this with, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the first press secretary, I think, in the history of the United States that has needed a security, for herself and her family. And we are seeing this intensify. We are seeing the Trump's family needs to be, guarded. Thank God for the security that Trump has around him. But this is going to get worse, and the threats are going to increase. The threats are going to intensify. And in Cuba, there was a lot of, like I said, a lot of bloodshed. There were many people killed at the hands of angry mobs and killed by the government. The government killed hundreds, if not thousands, of people that were found to be agents, anti-Castro agents, even though the only thing that they were guilty of was, they were against Castro, what he believed. So many people were killed, and many people were executed. Many were put in prison, and then the clamps came down, and nobody could voice anything on any platform, radio or TV. Of course, they didn't have internet back then. That they didn't have Twitter or Facebook or any such thing. But they took over the platforms, and only what they approved could go through the airwaves. And so this is what these people want. They want to control the airwaves. They want to control the internet. They want to control everything. And if they have their way, that is what's going to happen. And so there are many things here that we need to consider. And it's not just one or two things. There are many things here that are happening simultaneously. What's going to happen tomorrow, or what they say is going to happen tomorrow, because there's no guarantee anything is going to happen tomorrow. Remember the last time, I think it was last November, that they said they were going to start the same thing, a revolution. It fizzled out. And I believe it was because of the prayers of God's people. Only a few dozen showed up. And so what we need to do is pray that this thing is a repeat, and that the patriots and the Trump people and the militias and those motorcycle warriors show up in force. And you're going to see all these, Antifa people, they just are going to fizzle out like nothing, because they don't have the backbone. They don't have the moral high ground, is what I'm trying to say. These people don't have the moral high ground. They have no morals. They are mercenaries. They don't. All they care about is their belly, okay, getting paid. And whereas the patriots and the Christians and these, we have the moral high ground. We stand for something we believe in, and we have the goods. We have the gospel. We have the blood of Jesus. We have the power of prayer. These people have nothing. All they have is threats and lies and intimidation, and that is what they're using. And so what we as Christians cannot allow, because this is the same technique they used in Cuba, Stuart and Larry, is intimidation. If they can get the people intimidated and they can put fear on people and intimidate them and take away their guns, which is what they did in Cuba, then it's over. It's over. And if the deception is complete. And once they are in power, once these people are in power, it's over. I mean, look at Cuba. They have been in power for, almost 60 years.
Yep.
And so what a lot of people in America do not understand is they think, okay, and this is what I need to shake the people up. The people need to wake up, because a lot of people think like this, Stuart. They think, well, the United States deserves judgment, and God needs to judge America, and we need God to judge America. But they don't understand that this judgment, it's not going to be a day or a night or even a year. This thing may last for years.
Yes.
For decades, maybe. So what we're looking at here is bondage. Bondage that's going to last for a long time. Our children are going to have to live through it. I don't care myself, because I am in the winter of my years. But my children, my grandchildren, I really care what they get, what life they have, and this is what they're going to get. And so America needs to wake up, smell the coffee, know that this is it. There is going to be no second chance. God gave us the chance with President Trump. There's going to be no second chance here. This is it. It's do or die. So either you fight, you die on your feet fighting, or it's over. Just let's shut down and go home.
Yeah, Larry, any questions?
Yeah, I was just sitting there soaking that up, and that's exactly what people need to hear. We've got so many people saying, "Oh, if we just be quiet, this will blow over." If we don't do anything, we might not make them mad. And I've said before, I've told people, get a blog and get the word out. I don't recall one that did that. Nobody followed my advice. But what Augusto's saying is, this is the last jihad, so to speak. If you're ever going to say a thing against what's coming on this nation, if you're ever going to stand against evil in high places in this nation, whether they're natural people or spiritual entities, now is the time to speak your say and get your voice out there. As Augusto clearly said, and that's what I heard clearly, one of the first things they'll take is your communications. When they're through, you won't have a way to communicate or put your voice out there, period. And the next thing's your guns, and you're done. And go ahead, Augusto. This is really interesting.
Well, there is a lot going on here that people don't realize, and the first thing that people need to understand, and we've talked about this before. There are even many Christians today that they still don't like President Trump. And, I get it, okay? I get it. President Trump is no saint, okay? He's run around with women, and he's cheated on his wife. I understand all that. He's no saint. But he is a patriot. He loves this country. He really wants to do good to this country. And nobody can take that away from this man. I mean, it's obvious. He's proven that already. If people cannot see that, then there's nothing else I can say. And so the Christians and the patriots and those kinds of, especially the Christians, they need to quit all that nonsense and put their foot down and say, hey, listen, I may not like this guy. I would have preferred a clean guy, maybe a guy that had better morals, values, whatever. But you know what? This guy is fighting to the death for this country, and you know what? I'm going to stand right next to him. I'm going to pray for him. I'm going to fight. I'm not going to cross my arms and just do nothing. And so that's the first thing that the people need to understand. And I understand if some Christians out there, they don't want to get involved in politics or what have you. But you need to pray, because this is where you live. This is where we are. And your children live here. Your family lives here. So you better care. You better care what happens in this country. And the other reason is, there's other people in other countries that, and they have asked me this question, and some and they have asked the question to some of our intercessors, why do we have to pray for the United States so much? Well, I understand somebody living in Australia or maybe in Spain or Germany or whatever would have a question like that. I understand it. I get it. But the reason we need to pray for this country is because this country is the last thing standing between these people having their way and them not having their way.
Yes.
And I believe Trump was put in there for that reason, to stop them. Now, there's something going on here, Stuart and Larry, that I've been kind of doing a little digging on and a little study on, and this is something that another reason why we need to pray for this president. Okay, now I'm going to share a couple of things with the people here, and that is that what we are seeing here has only been attempted a few times. Okay, and that is, we are seeing a president here that is trying to get rid of the central bank and the Federal Reserve.
Yes.
And, the economy, we all know the U.S. dollar is toast. We know that, okay? But what we don't know is what's really going on behind the scenes, what Trump is really trying to do. And what a lot of people are not aware of is that every one of these globalists, elitists, and people that are in the deep state, they have their eyes trained on President Trump to take him out for a number of reasons. But this is, I believe, in my humble opinion, one of the main reasons why, and we know he's trying to dismantle the pedophile rings. We know that. We know he's trying to stop everything Obama did and Hillary Clinton tried to do and Bill Clinton and all these people and even the Bushes tried to do. But the main thing I believe that he is trying to do, which is gonna, if we don't pray for him, it's gonna cost him his life, is the fact that he's trying to get rid of the central bank. And, the central bank, for people out there that don't understand this, the central bank is the funding of the deep state.
Yes.
That is what funds the deep state, is the central bank, the Federal Reserve. And if that is cut off, they're done. It's over. It's game over for them. I'm not talking about just the U.S. I'm talking about in the world. And it would take them probably a whole lifetime to even get back to where they are now. And so we are headed in that direction. And so one of the things that will cause this thing is, for example, and I've been, like I said, I've been doing a little bit of research here, and I need to share this with the people so the people know how to pray. The Board of Federal Reserve, okay, it has a board. The Federal Reserve has a board. It has 7 members, and normally it should have 7 members. It doesn't have 7 members. Now, it only has 3. President Trump has appointed 2 of those. Now, he has already appointed 2 more, which have not been confirmed by the Senate. And when that is confirmed, that will be 5, and then he's going to appoint 2 more, which will make it 7, which means he will have 6 of the 7 members of that board of the Federal Reserve, which means he will have the ability to change the laws and the rules there. And what he's trying to do, from what I have found out, is he is trying to basically bring the Federal Reserve back under the control of the Treasury, the Secretary of the Treasury, or the Treasury Department, which is what a lot of other presidents try to do. Because once that happens, these globalists, they lose control of it. That is how they fund their agenda, okay? And so they're not going to let this happen. They have never allowed this to happen, okay? Now, there have been other presidents before. I'm going to give you a few, okay? One of them was William McKinley, okay? Another president was James Garfield. Another one was Abraham Lincoln, and another one by the name of John F. Kennedy. And you know what all these presidents had in common? They tried to get rid of the central bank, and they were killed. They were assassinated. And so that is not a good epitaph for anyone that has tried to do this in the past. So this is what we're dealing with, folks. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the end. President Trump, I mean, one of the things that is going on right now, I'm going to say this real quick and shut up and toss it back to you, Stuart and Larry, is one of the things that President Trump is trying to do is he's trying to basically, he's trying to go into the Fed and basically, see what's going on with the funds in the Fed. And that is the one thing that they have been kind of prolonging. And this is one of the things that I believe that they are trying to do an audit. They're trying to do a Fed audit. When that happens, we're going to see this whole ball begin to roll. And all these people begin to be indicted, maybe imprisoned. When this happens, that's it. And this is what I believe they're trying to preempt. These the globalists. They're trying to preempt this with Antifa and with all these people. And that is why they want no borders, to bring all these people in. So if President Trump manages to end the central banking system, these people will have no funding. The deep state will have no funding, and it will be game over.
Now, I got a question for you. When did they come after the guns in Cuba in this process of the takeover?
Oh, they came out right away. Right away. The first thing Castro did when he came into power was tell the people, armas para qué, which means, why do we need weapons? See? Why do we need weapons? And so, basically, he tried to implement that scripture in the Bible, which talked about, turning your weapons into plowshares.
Yeah, United Nations.
Yeah, there you go, the United Nations, and that's what he tried to do in Cuba. And basically, to start with, the Cuban people didn't have a lot of guns. Some did, but everybody didn't have guns like here in the U.S. But some people did. But that is how he did that. We don't need weapons. It's just the same thing they're saying here, isn't it? Why do you need weapons?
Yeah. Very, very interesting, because Obama was anti-gun and would have confiscated them immediately if he could have gotten away with it.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people that really do think that Obama's coming back. I'm one of them. I just have this awful feeling that something is going to happen. False flag, economic collapse, this or that, and it'll trigger. Deep state is so powerful and worldwide. Aside from the hand of the Lord holding them back, Trump wouldn't stand a chance. It's only because of the Lord he's gotten as far as he has.
Well, that's it. It is the prayer of God's people. And I really believe with everything in me that it is the prayers of the people. This is the only reason that he is winning. This is the only reason that he is alive. This is the only reason that no matter how many times they have tried to kill him, they have not succeeded. This is the only reason. It's because of the prayers. And the enemy knows it, and he's trying to stifle, the prayer warriors, and that is the only thing. For people out there that don't believe what I'm telling you, Okay? Don't want to believe the power of prayer. I mean, I just want to refresh your memory. What was the name of that warrior back in the days of Bloody Mary? Remember the Bloody Mary, the Queen of Scots, the man that was a prayer warrior. I can't come up with his name right now, but there was a man there that had such a powerful prayer life, and he was such a prayer warrior that Mary, Queen of Scots, was terrified of him. The legend says, history says, that she feared him more than all the combined armies of England. And that is because his prayers were the ones that destroyed her, brought her down, and the prayers of people that were lined up with him praying. And so, do not underestimate, people, the power of prayer. And, I do believe that Obama wants to come back. I do believe he is trying to come back. I do believe the deep state is going to try to make him come back. But you know what? They cannot come back unless God says so. And God ain't going to say so unless God's people fall flat on their faces and they fail.
Okay, here's a very interesting article. Larry, you got any other questions?
Well, I was just going to mention the fact that, I know Augusto's well-versed in the time shift or the new timeline that we're on, and I would like his opinion, but the old timeline, we would have seen Hillary Clinton apparently as the new president. She was already crowned, and the first thing she would have done was remove the guns.
Yes. Yeah, I believe you're right. Anyway, here's an article. This is about tomorrow. Get ready. Pray to God. The time is now. The imposters are preparing the final act in their coup d'etat. To all readers and all American patriots, we are informing you to prepare yourselves. This country is at a precipice. America is either going to be overrun by a power-hungry deep state, or it will survive one of the biggest attacks to its existence since the Civil War. We must all be vigilant and prepared. The acts of the deep state are as appalling as they are criminal. An unelected and elected power-hungry minority is attempting a coup d'etat of the Trump administration. We now have reached that moment. America will either be free or it will become another failing exercise in the chronicles of human history. What do you think, Augusto?
No, I think they're right on. I think they put the hammer on the nail, and that is exactly where we are at. And this is why it behooves the American people to wake up. I have come to the point where I really believe that there's going to be those that are never going to wake up because they don't want to wake up. They just want to have their beer and they want to have their football game, and that's it. They don't care about anything. They work from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and that's it. And they may even go to church on Sunday and sing a couple of hymns and go home. That is what they want. They don't want anything else. And they may never change. They may never be persuaded. And then there's the other people that are evil. They know what's going on. They are in the program. They are more faithful to the dark side than I hate to admit, and a lot of Christians are to the kingdom of God, and they're dedicated and they're willing to give their lives for it, which is more than I can say for a lot of Christians. But then you have the remnant. Thank God for the remnant. And those are the ones that are wide awake, and they're trying to wake the others. And they're not just trying to wake the others. They're down on their knees and they're praying and they're interceding, and they're out there in the front, the trenches there, that is if we read the Bible, Stuart, Larry, we all know that that's the way it's always been. Nothing has changed. God has always worked with a handful, with a small remnant. We see the story of Gideon and his 300, and we see the story of the 12 apostles, and we see the story of David and his mighty men, his remnant, and it has always been like that. And God has never had the multitudes, the millions and the millions. No, he's always had just a remnant. But you know what? With that small remnant, he has changed the world. He did it through Israel. He did it through David and his mighty men. He did it through Gideon. He did it through Moses. And he did it through Jesus Christ. And now he's going to do it through his end-time remnant. That's the way I feel about it. And many people may not agree with me and may criticize me and may think I am an optimist. But you know what? It's not that I am an optimist. It's just that if I'm gonna be called a Christian, I have to believe what the Bible says, and I have to align myself with what the Bible says, and that's what the Bible says, that God is going to use a remnant. And so, we are not many. We may be few, but I believe that few in the hand of God, in people that mean it, people that are on their knees and repenting and fasting and praying and crying out to God, I believe that is a majority. And that's where I am. That's where I stand. And I believe that this thing that they're threatening, you see, what they're talking about here, Stuart and Larry, with this thing tomorrow, again, you need to understand what's going on here, okay? Yes, I believe they're preparing for something. I believe they're trying to make something big happen. I do believe that. But again, what we are seeing here is they're using is the principle of intimidation, the principle of fear tactics, fear intimidation, deception. You see, this is how the enemy deceives. The devil, yeah, he's got power, but he doesn't have all power. All power belongs to the Almighty. We know that. There's nothing the Creator cannot do. So, but he roars like a lion, right? The devil. He's roar like a roaring lion. The Bible says he goes about seeking whom he may devour. And one of the ways he devours people is through fear. Fear paralyzes people. And so once he gets somebody to become afraid and paralyze them, they will not pray, they will not raise their voices, they will be intimidated, and that is half the battle right there. That's half the battle. Mm-hmm. And we can talk. I can talk about a lot of scriptures. I mean, you guys know scripture as well as I do. The first thing that the Almighty told Gideon and he had a lot of people that volunteered, and he told Gideon, that's too many. And the first thing the Lord told Gideon to do was tell them, whoever is afraid, go home. And you know what? When Gideon told the people, if any one of you is afraid to fight, go home right now. Go home to your family. And you know what? They lost, about half of the crowd or three-quarters of the crowd?
Yes,
and,
that's generally.
that's generally the way it happens.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying, all I'm saying, and I'll hand it back to you, Stuart. All I'm saying is that we cannot allow this spirit of intimidation to get a hold of the people. They're saying they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Remember like Kim Jong-un, I'm going to bomb, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But Trump was not intimidated. Whenever Kim Jong-un said, I got a button in my desk, Trump said, I got a bigger button. Well, you know what? You know what I say to that, Stuart, Larry? We got a bigger button. We got a bigger button than all these witches and warlocks and devil worshippers.
Well, here's another article, and it comes from Steve Quayle and his alert thing, and the only reason I keep bringing it up is because I'm not sure how many are actually praying, and I'm not sure how many actually realize the danger they're actually in this nation. And the fact that sooner or later the Lord is going to judge the nation. But anyway, here's what it says. And this is from evidently either a police officer, sheriff, or ICE agent, federal agent. I could go on for hours, he says. This is about Portland, what I saw. But I'd rather tell you what I see coming. Since the Black Lives Matter came about, this nation has been on edge. These factions of BLM have not spurred off into multiple other factions like Antifa. There were multiple Antifa members at this camp in Portland, but when we would detain them, we were told, now this is part of that deep state obvious treason, we were told to let them go or cite and release. An officer of ours was even assaulted by one of these individuals and was taken to jail but released the very next day. Portland, you are a lost cause at this point. Unless you want to live under martial law, which is the only thing we could do at this point in order to take Portland back, I suggest you citizens start solving your problems. Your mayor is worthless and does not care about the safety of its citizens. I know because I read the report from the Oregonian where the PPB chief of police and the mayor said they were concerned about the safety of the protesters, not the officers who were there to try and keep the peace, not the American citizens employed by the federal government, and certainly not about the safety of citizens within the proximity of the camp. We had a lot of positive support from the local population, but for every 10 that thanks us, there were one or two who would always call us Nazis and pigs. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the midst of a war for the fundamental right to be an American. The Constitution is under attack from the far left and its democratic leaders. This is only going to get worse from here. America has fundamentally changed just as Barack Obama wanted. If you ask me, we are only a few more riot protests away from the left and the right clashing to the point of firearms being used. Once that is done, you will force the police to drastically change our approach. I don't know how that will go, but I was in Ferguson, Missouri during the BLM riots and in Baltimore for that BLM riot. The police and National Guard will eventually be forced to put down those riots by force, and this is what we need, or this is what we need, nor need to happen. I strongly urge the American people, get ready for this flashpoint to happen. It will happen eventually, so he's not saying necessarily tomorrow. The communist movement in America is growing and getting stronger and more support from the populace. I don't think it is such a threat to that extent, but the anti-American mindset is growing. Our enemies outside the U.S. are waiting for us to implode, and until George Soros is apprehended, this is going to continue. I don't really have all the answers, and it's frustrating to see our country tearing itself apart, but it's no longer just political. May the peace of God be over you all. Don't get caught unprepared. What do you think? That's from a police officer.
Larry?
Yeah, that's, well, as I said, I've said to you guys personally that in the years that I was in law enforcement, and I have to admit, I'm probably a dinosaur, but during those times, if you wore a mask in public, you went to jail immediately. You didn't get to walk around with a mask on anywhere I've ever worked. And as a matter of fact, you didn't come to demonstrate or protest carrying your arms and your weapons and your shields and wrapped up in all kind of armor. This is something new, and I cannot believe this nation stands by, that its law enforcement in this nation stands by and allows this evil surge of the communist movement to walk our streets all across America. I cannot believe it. And as they said, Portland, shame on you. All the cops in Portland that stood by, shame on you. During the time I was a cop, I thought we had guts. I wonder now, Augusto.
Well, Oregon and California and to some extent Washington State are, they're on the far left. They're deep blue states. And
yes.
They're going to cooperate with the communist agenda no matter what. The same can be said of the Northeast and in some in parts of also of Illinois. Not all of Illinois, because I have been in Illinois, and there's some beautiful territory there on the suburbs, southern Illinois. But that area there of Chicago, that's corrupted, and so there are areas in this country which are, I believe personally, they are marked for destruction. I do believe there's going to be judgment in this country. I don't believe it's going to be total, because the Lord is wise and He's righteous, and He is not going to judge the righteous with the wicked. He said it in His Word. Remember, Abraham told the Lord, Lord, how shall you judge the righteous with the wicked? You're a righteous God. You will not do that. And the Lord promised Abraham He wouldn't. And that's when He asked him, if he could find, 10 righteous people in Sodom and Gomorrah, He wouldn't destroy it. So I don't believe the Lord is going to judge the whole country just because there are some areas that are totally of the devil. They're hellholes. I do believe there's going to be selective judgment. I really do believe that. The Lord has shown that to me. And I do believe there will be areas of refuge, areas that are going to be perfectly safe in this country. And I do believe that these people that are, in total cesspool of sin, corruption, Oregon, California, a lot of it, maybe not all of it, but a lot of California is in danger, extreme danger. And to some extent, Washington and the Northeast and many of these other areas, they are in danger. They're in deep danger. South Florida is in deep danger. But there are the suburbs, I believe, that where the remnant are. And I do believe that this is where the Lord is going to judge. He's going to judge it through earthquakes, through tsunamis, through even nuclear, warheads. And this is, I believe, is going to happen. Okay, I believe this is going to happen, but I don't believe it's going to destroy the whole nation. I still hold on to the fact of the vision of George Washington, where the nation was going to make it through. It was going to make it through, even though it was going to be destroyed. It was going to make it through. And there was going to be a remnant that was going to rise and rebuild the land. And so I believe this is where we're heading. Again, I'm not afraid. I am not apprehensive about it. I think I thank God. I thank God that we have President Trump in the White House and not Hillary Clinton or Obama. And so we have to look at it from that point of view, okay? He is the president. Obama is not the president. Trump is the president, and he's got the military with him, and he's got he's got the Marines with him, and he's got the military intelligence on his side. And I believe that this is why we should not be, overwhelmed with fear. We have to be concerned. Yeah, we have to be concerned. But we should turn that concern into action, not inaction, but action, and positive action. And I do believe that there is reason for concern for all the things that we have talked about, what you read, Stuart, and what Larry said, and what I've shared. I think there's a lot of reason for concern, but not fear. Not fear. We need to consider this, and we need to attack it from the point of view of prayer, and speak out. I tell the people, speak out. The people in Oregon, speak out. Go there, go to that mayor and tell him to resign, step down. He's not fit to be a mayor. If you don't defend people, innocent people that are just trying to have a peaceful gathering, you are not fit to be a mayor. This is how these things have to be handled. And prayer, raise your voice, demand action, just like the communists do. That's what the communists do, except they threaten. Yes. But the American people are going to have to learn to raise their voices, to demand things, to protest and pray. And I believe the Lord is going to hear the prayers of the saints, but it's going to take a little more than prayer. I'm afraid we are past the point of just prayer. When we could have solved this thing just by prayer, that day is over. Okay, yes. It's over. We let that time pass, and the American people did not pray. Now we still need to pray, but people are going to have to do a little more than just pray.
Yeah, what do you think, Larry?
Well, I totally agree. I know we're going to run out of time shortly, but I was wondering about, since we're in the new timeline and we're past this pivot point, it appears that circumstances in the Middle East, especially Jerusalem and Israel, there's a lot of change going on over there. Augusto, what do you see that may be coming to Israel, Jerusalem, and the Middle East?
Well, I think that Jerusalem is playing a very important piece in the end-time scenario. Of course, we know what happened with Trump moving the embassy to Jerusalem. That is incredibly prophetic. Extremely prophetic. That had to happen. That confirms again that he is the Cyrus. He was put there by God as a Cyrus to make that happen. That is another big piece that the Lord put him in there to do, to accomplish, to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel, because that's the way it should be. And I do believe that Israel is going to be, again, surrounded by enemies, just like the U.S. I mean, the U.S. and Israel are going to either stand together or die together. That's the way it is. And there's nobody else that's going to come to their rescue and when it's all said and done. And I do believe that because of Trump, Israel is safe for now. Is safe for now. It would have been another story if Obama would have been in the White House or Hillary would have been there. It would have been very dangerous for Israel. I think Israel is pretty safe, at least for now. I don't think Iran is stupid enough to, I was sharing with Larry earlier today, I don't think Iran is that stupid to try anything against Israel, because Israel can take them out very quickly. And so they can bluster all they want and and shake their rattle their saber or whatever, but I don't think they're gonna try anything stupid. And especially now with President Trump challenging them also as well, and saying that he's going to obliterate. I don't think Iran is that stupid. So I think we can breathe a little easier as far as that is concerned. But if Trump is taken out for some reason, and I pray that doesn't happen, then you can ask me again when that happens, Larry.
Okay.
Yeah, if he's removed, I think Russia will have to move against us. If Trump goes, Putin said before, if Hillary was elected, it meant war. So he would probably do a preemptive surprise attack against the United States if Trump is done away with either by impeachment or whatever. There's a lady that had vision, I know Larry saw it, that tomorrow, actually, he was going to be done away with. So hopefully that is, somebody's mind wandering, and it's not from the Lord at all. So, but he is on treacherous ground simply because, like you were just saying, you move against the Federal Reserve. Jesus Christ moved against the money people. It was soon after that he was executed. When Kennedy did the same thing, he was executed. You named some others that were executed. Deep state is extremely, extremely powerful. So I guess this is really a question of timing as to how long the Lord is going to put his hand on America and delay judgment. Or have we come to the end of judgment? Who knows? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Stuart and Larry, because a lot of people out there have the same question, and they're probably going to write with the same question, and that is, there's many people having experiences and dreams about this and that. And what I say to that is that many of those dreams about maybe, something bad happening to the president and him being killed and this and other thing, and all those things are timelines, possible scenarios, the plan of the enemy that he wants to bring about, okay? And that is not, and this is where a lot of people that get these experiences, where they get confused. That is not a thus saith the Lord, God saying this is the way it's going to be. No, that is shown as the plans of the enemy that he wants to bring about. Now, whether those things happen or not, that depends on whether his bride, the remnant, rises up, prays against it, annuls that thing, and changes the timeline, that never happens. So again, all of these things, if there's anybody out there, and you can be a prophetess, you can be a watchman, you can be a watchwoman, whatever, okay? If you get something like that, in a dream or a vision, okay, unless it is a visitation from an angel, and the angel says, this is going to happen, thus saith the Lord, unless that is the case, don't take it as God's will that is what God is saying, because most of the time is basically the plans of the enemy that people get from the second heaven, plans of the enemy. It's happened to me many times, plans of the enemy, and I have prayed against them, and they have not come to pass. And so these are, again, things that God allows for warning his people. Hey, this can happen. This can happen. Okay, these are the plans of the enemy. If you don't do nothing, this may come to pass. So I just wanted to share that and clarify that, because I know there's a lot of people getting different things, and a lot of people say sometimes, how can God... How can the will of God be so different in so many people? How can God's will be this and this and this and this and this? And that is the answer right there. I try to put it as concise as I can.
Yep, that's very, very good. How can they get a hold of you, Augusto? We got about a minute left.
Well, just theappearance.com. Just go there. The Appearance, THE, theappearance.com, and that's how they can get a hold and get their newsletter and whatever else they need.
Larry, any final words?
Oh, I just appreciate Augusto so much coming on and sharing tonight, because I think the word we heard tonight was needed. Yeah,
we're close to something, whatever it is, and whichever way it goes. It is in the Lord's hand, and as Augusto said, prayer is so powerful, and the time is coming when, if the American people themselves don't pray, judgment will come, and I believe it's already started. He's trying to wake people up. Seems like it's not having much effect, so maybe the judgments will get a little stronger. Anyway, Augusto, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Stuart. It's always a blessing.
Okay, and Larry, thank you for coming on, and thank you, everyone, for listening. Hope you got something out of this. You surely should have. Anyway, good night.